is for rational exponents. And we've already talked about this before, so let me remind you of how we do it, because Emily sometimes kind of doesn't like this. What do I do with the square root? I turn it into a 1/2 power, right? So it's a rational exponent. Now, if I have an exponent, I just bring the exponent down in front. So when I take the derivative, I get dy dx, because that's what y turns into, right? And I have 1/2 times x to the 1/2 minus 1, which is to the negative 1/2 power. Good. And so that's 1/2 times the square root of x. Right? Do you need to see another one of those, or are you remembering what it looks like with the regular derivative? Got it? All right, so example 5 takes this idea of being able to do this with rational exponents and then includes it with the implicit differentiation. So it says here in example 5, we're supposed to find the slope of the curve 2 times the quantity x plus y to the 1/3 is equal to y at the point 4, 4. I can't separate the y's out, right? So I just got to start where it gave me. I do understand that since it asks for the slope of the curve, what do I have to do? Find the derivative. So I'm going to write my equation back down, or the equation of my curve, and I'm going to take the derivative of this thing. This is the chain rule, right? So I'm going to take my exponent and bring it down in front. So I've got the 2 times the 1/3 times the stuff inside, just like it is, right? To the 1/3 minus 1, which is a negative 2/3 power, times, now I need the derivative of the stuff that's inside. The derivative of the x is 1 plus dy over dx. Excellent job. And that's equal to dy dx. Okay? So, let's think about what we got here. This is 2 times a third, which is just 2/3, right? And this is x plus y to the negative 2/3, because that's kind of all one group. It's like one factor. I got to kind of keep it together. Yeah. Does this happen that way? No. Okay. So, remember our process here is to get dy dx by itself. And right now, dy dx is kind of inside this parentheses. So what do I have to do? Distribute. So I got to take this times both of these two terms. And then once I get that separated, then I can pull stuff apart. So anything times 1 is itself. So I've got 2/3 times x plus y to the negative 2/3 plus, and then it's just 2/3 times x plus y to the negative 2/3 dy dx. So I've got a dy dx in this term and a dy dx in this term, and they're on opposite sides of the equal bar. Where do I need them to be? On the same side. So I'm going to leave this one that does not contain a dy dx where it is, but I'm going to take that other term and subtract it. So I've got a negative 2/3 x plus y to the negative 2/3 dy dx. Now I've got everything that's got a dy dx over on the right-hand side of the equation. So now what can I do? First I got to factor out the dy dx, right? Because anytime it's in more than one term, I got to factor it out before I can figure out what to divide by. And that leaves 1 minus the 2/3 times x plus y to the negative 2/3. So I'm going to divide by that entire term. So dy dx is 2/3 x plus y to the negative 2/3 over 1 minus 2/3 x plus y to the negative 2/3. Yeah, I don't know why I turned them into minuses over here. They don't let me do stuff like that. I had, when I wrote it down over here, I had minus signs in them. Okay? So, that's the derivative. Now I got to plug that point that they gave me at the beginning of this problem, which was 4 into the derivative. So the slope at this particular point is 2/3 times 4 plus 4 to the negative 2/3 over 1 minus 2/3 times 4 plus 4 to the negative 2/3, which is 8, right? So I've got 2/3 times 8 to the negative 2/3 and 1 minus 2/3 times 8 to the negative 2/3. Now 8 to the negative 2/3. You could put it in the calculator, but remember that that's the cube root of 8 squared, and it's on the denominator. Right? The denominator of my fractional exponent is the root. The top number, the numerator, is the exponent. And the negative sign flips it into the bottom. So there's the top. Okay? But I just want you to, kind of pull this out to the side because that's 1/4. The cube root of 8 is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And 2 squared is 4. So it's just 1/4. 8 to the negative 2/3 is 1/4. So I've got 2/3 times 1/4 over 1 minus 2/3 times 1/4. So I got 2/12. Okay, which reduces to 1/6, over 1 minus 2/12, which reduces to 1/6, right? So that's 1/6 over 5/6. And if I bring this to the top, it becomes 6/5. 6 is reduced out. My slope is 1/5. the homework assignment for this is on page 189, and it's 6 through 45 multiples of 3.